for decades, we've been talking and talking and talking about climate change. The indisputable evidence, the mounting risks, the clear and present dangers. Yet we still have not sufficiently reduced our greenhouse gas emissions, and we still have not made the necessary investments to protect ourselves from the impacts of climate change. And to top it all off, right now, US climate science is under attack. So as a climate scientist, I'm asking myself, what more can I possibly do? What more can I and my colleagues in the sciences do to advance action on climate change? Now, oftentimes when I ask a question about what more can scientists do, the first answer I get is something along the lines of, well, you all really need to work on your communication skills and how to talk to the public. I hear we need to use plainer language, more decisive language. I also hear that we need to de-emphasize uncertainty. There are a lot of different things that I hear, and yes, we need to do all of those things. But taking that wholesale approach and just putting climate information for the public in a prettier package is not going to get the job done. We need to be focusing on the retail side. We need to make sure that we get the right climate information and get it to the right people. There are 3 things that climate scientists can do to make that happen. Number 1, we can have hard conversations. And right now, that means learning how to talk about climate change without saying the words climate change. Because there are places right now we literally cannot say the word, and where there are situations, we can't even write the words down. But that certainly doesn't mean that it's not happening. In fact, we know that at least for the duration of my lifetime, the planet is going to continue to warm. And it's science that paints the picture of what lies ahead. It's science that tells us what risks lie in store for all of us. So if we're going to protect our society, if we're going to make sure that our communities are resilient, and we're going to ensure the sustainability of our natural resources, we need to make sure that climate science is in every nook and cranny of our society. Low income to wealthy, urban to rural, and conservative to liberal. So as a scientist, we need to be able to talk to anyone about climate change, even when we can't say the words. Now that might seem like it's a pretty difficult thing to do, but it's actually not. And that's because we can connect climate to the one thing that we all experience almost every day, the one thing that everybody has an opinion about, the weather. And make no mistake, climate change is really messing with the weather. From droughts to hurricanes, floods, wildfire, everyone has a story to tell about some extreme weather event. I used to joke that drought was the gateway drug to climate change. Because when I worked on water issues and climate, whenever I would encounter a skeptical water manager, the second that we started talking about drought, that was when we'd had that breakthrough moment. Because we could tell stories that we shared, and we could begin to relate to one another. Essentially, talking about the weather, you're taking the big cosmic issue of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions and radiative forcing, and you're not just bringing it back down to earth, you're bringing it to the kitchen table. So if you want to have a conversation about climate change, I suggest you pick your favorite natural disaster that's related to an extreme weather event and go from there. Number 2, as a scientist, I can actually tailor my research to meet the needs of people making decisions that touch on climate change. I'm going to start with a metaphor. Imagine you walk into your doctor's office and you're like, okay, doc, I'm really tired. I don't feel well, sore throat, body aches, fever, took my COVID test, it was negative. Help me out here, I just don't know what it is. And your doctor looks at you and says, And they walk out of the room and come back with a stack of paper and hand it to you. You look at the stack of paper and it's a bunch of highly technical articles from the Journal of the American Medical Association. And your doctor looks at you and says, that should help, and walks out. That is pretty much how a lot of climate scientists actually approach working with people who come asking them for help. But it is not helpful. Speaking as a climate scientist, I would say if we're going to work on our bedside manner, we need to start re-examining our relationship with the community. And when I'm talking about community, I am talking about all the people who are not scientists. We spend a lot of time focusing on building the climate literacy of the public, of our community, but maybe we need to flip that on its head and invest more time in building the community literacy of the scientific enterprise. Because when it comes down to it, climate change is about a lot more than polar bears and penguins. It's about people. So we need to integrate people into the scientific method. We need planners, resource managers, and all sorts of decision makers to be engaged at the start of our research. Because that is how you make sure that you're developing science that is tailored to the needs of others. You're getting the right science to meet the right person's needs. Number 3, we need to change higher education here in the United States. Lots of the climate science that happens here happens in academia. Climate experts from around the world come through US colleges and universities. And for those of us that have PhDs, we've spent a lot of time there, like a lot of time. But in all of my time in school, the things I never learned is everything I just spent the last couple minutes talking about. I never formally learned science communication, didn't learn how to work with communities, and didn't learn how to have hard conversations. Therein lies the problem. Climate change is fast and it is furious. We do not have the luxury of time to wait for the upcoming generation of scientists to learn these things on the job like I did. We need to make sure that these things are embedded in graduate programs across the country, particularly in the physical sciences. We also need to make sure that these learning programs are available for those already in the scientific workforce. But if we're going to make all of that happen, we need to shake up higher education. And here's the reason. In academia, and in particular, most of the disciplines that are core to understanding the climate and finding solutions, it is not the impact of your research that is the metric for success that is considered in hiring and promotion. Rather, it's that big pile of papers that the doctor handed you. It's highly technical articles published in scientific journals. Academia really values paper over people. So if we're going to really create the pathways for scientists to advance climate action, we need to bring paper and people into parity. Overhauling higher education. That's a really easy thing to do, right? Well, I would say right now is probably the time to transform. Right now, there is an active campaign to destroy climate science here in the United States and to decimate US higher education and all of the research programs. So as somebody who deeply cares about higher education, as somebody who dedicated her entire career to understanding climate issues and trying to find those solutions, I'd say right now is a pretty good time to stand up and meet the moment. Thank you. Because if we don't, we risk our science wasting away in the ivory tower, or what might be left of it. But we need to make sure that our science is deployed into, again, every corner of society because it is desperately needed. So those 3 things that I just talked about, we need to make sure that we actually do them, because if we do them, we will be able to make sure that we get the right science to the right people. We need to have the hard conversation, learn how to talk about climate change without saying climate change. We need to be able to work with communities to develop our research, and we must change higher education. We have really rough seas ahead. Right now, we're in a hurricane, and who knows when it's going to end. But if we remember those 3 things, converse, co-produce, change culture, and we actually decide to move forward with them, We're going to make sure that we continue to advance on climate action and get shit done, no matter what lies ahead. Because when it comes down to it, it's not just on scientists, but it's on everybody here to make sure that science is unstoppable. Thank you.